We should take
the GDC
and push it somewhere else!
Hey everybody, so recently I made a video talking about the GDC, or the Game Developers Conference, which is an annual conference for game developers, as the name of the conference would imply, which is held annually in San Francisco. And I talked more generally in that video about just what GDC is and what you can expect if you wanted to go, and my thoughts about the value of going versus not going. But in this video I want to address more specifically some of the problems associated with GDC. And in particular, some of the problems that have cropped up this year, but that have always been a problem. So, when I was there, I went there last year. I did not attend this year. I attended in 2017, not 2018. And 2017 was my first and only time going, and there's a reason why it was my first and only time. You can watch my other video for more details on that more generally. But in this video I want to address particularly the location of the event. Without talking about the event itself, you know, there's certainly value in going to the event and so forth. I addressed that in my other video. In this video I just want to talk about the location. So San Francisco as a city is... Well, okay, let me preface this by saying that I am someone who has been to all 50 states in the United States. I've seen it all. I'm familiar with, basically every major city in the US. And the only place that I have been to in the United States, and this is not statistically validated, in fact I know that this is statistically not the case, but anecdotally, based on what I saw, the only city with more poverty and more homelessness that was rampant and obvious, in your face, was Honolulu in Hawaii. Than San Francisco. San Francisco had so many homeless people. Honolulu has tent cities and people camped out on beaches and hordes of teeming masses of homeless people. It's a really big problem. And obviously other places, I've been told that LA has a higher homelessness rate, and that may very well be the case. I've heard that New York does as well, but obviously these are cities that are much bigger with higher populations. New York is pretty dense and concentrated, but LA is this huge sprawling metropolis, right? And that may be the case that they have higher poverty rates and higher homelessness rates, but most cities, in my experience, have done a better job of hiding that poverty and hiding that homelessness, and of having homelessness shelters and having help for the people who are there. In San Francisco and also in Hawaii, apparently, based on I've only been to Honolulu. I only went to the one island. I didn't go to the other islands. But based on my experience there, it's these places, particularly San Francisco and Honolulu, don't have adequate facilities, apparently. They're just letting their homelessness, they're letting their homeless people just walk around, which can be bothersome, right? Because a lot of these people struggle with mental illness. There's a lot of problems going on that are, causing them to be homeless in the first place in many cases. There's a lot of drug abuse people talk about in San Francisco, and here's where I'm going to get into some of the examples, right? There are people in San Francisco who just walk around with needles, drug abuse is rampant, mental illness is rampant. It's a huge problem in San Francisco, and nobody seems to be doing anything about it. Just anecdotally, right? I haven't looked into this problem from, a political analysis, or I don't know what people are doing locally. I don't know how many services there are, or, what facilities have been instituted. I'm just saying that from an anecdotal perspective, from someone who visited one time and went there for a week, it seems like a really big problem. Now, you can find all kinds of instances if you go on the GDC Facebook group, Fellowship of GDC Parties, where people share information about GDC generally and also more specifically about parties that are happening around the city and networking events and things of that nature. If you go on this Facebook group, you'll find all kinds of examples. Every year it's like this. When I was there, there are anecdotal stories of people take dumps in the street. When you go there, they just defecate in the street. And a lot of that is I get people come from other cultures, they don't understand that you're not supposed to poop in the street, I guess, but they don't seem to understand that, which I get, but I mean, you have to watch where you're stepping if you go there. I saw somebody doing it. It's not something that I've just heard about. I have seen this happen when I was there during that week last year. This apparently, based on Facebook and based on the Facebook group, people are still doing this. if you go there, you have to be aware of all these different things, right? But anyway, more specifically, Facebook group. People this year alone have talked about how there was a stabbing of a security guard at one of the private events by a hobo. They said that there was a homeless man who entered the Moscone, which is the conference center where the proper conference is being held. He just wandered in naked off the street and had to be escorted off the premises. There was a mugging where a bunch of people, a bunch of women who were allegedly prostitutes, walked into a bar where an event was taking place and pepper sprayed a man and mugged him and took his money and left. I don't know all the details. Like I said, if you want to go and research this more, you can just go look at the Facebook page. It's not a secret. It's a huge problem. So when we go to San Francisco, like, they always talk about, when you go to GDC, there's this section of the town called the Tenderloin where you're never supposed to go, especially not at night, but like never, if you can help it, are you supposed to go there, because that's like the bad part of town. But it's like right between where a lot of the hotels are and where the GDC is located, where the conference is actually held. So you're going to be crisscrossing the city, walking all over, going to networking events and so forth, especially after the conference is over. So you have to like tuck your badge in your shirt and be really careful and don't make eye contact with anybody, and it's like this huge problem. Like, maybe we shouldn't be going to San Francisco for this event, you know? Maybe we should be going to, well, I mean, in the comments somebody suggested that we go to Iowa, which I mean that's probably a joke, but we should probably move it somewhere else. Like, we should probably go to, I don't know, like LA or something, because LA, I guess, has a higher homelessness rate, but I mean, there are parts of LA that are a lot safer than San Francisco as a whole. So I'm sure that San Francisco, more generally, isn't all like this, but the area around the Moscone Center seems to have a lot of problems. Maybe you can move it someplace else within that city. Maybe you have to move it to LA, or, you know, I read through a lot of these comments in the Fellowship of GDC Parties Facebook group. Go check it out. If you're thinking about going, definitely check that out beforehand, because that includes a lot of useful information. But, I mean, it's so unsafe. Like, there's one person is, like, physically assaulted every year. There's always problems with, like, you know, people, like, just with drugs on the street. You know, people with sort of eccentric, bizarre behaviors because they suffer from mental illness and they're homeless and they're just wandering around and nobody's helping them, which you wouldn't really expect in like such a progressive city, right? Like San Francisco is very much like, not to get like political, but like it's a democratic city, right? And they're supposed to be all about like helping the poor and vulnerable, and you know, it doesn't seem like that's being borne out in the way that this is the situation is being handled. So that's just something that I wanted to address. I'm not gonna say where we should move it, but I'm gonna say that I don't see myself going back to San Francisco at any point in the near future for GDC, in large part because of the safety issues. Like, for the conference itself, you can argue about the value of going, and I talked about that in my previous video, but just purely based on the safety factor, I wouldn't go. If you're gonna go, that's fine, but be safe, is what I'm saying, I guess. And this is really more of like a call to action to move GDC somewhere else. So I don't know how many people are going to see this. I only have like 20 subscribers, which, by the way, hey, was my annual goal, sort of jokingly, but I made 20 subs. I'm in the double digits. I'm a big deal now. Haha, wow, look out, PewDiePie. Haha, but anyway. So that's really all that I have to say for this video. Hopefully you guys appreciate it. If you're watching and you run the GDC, or you have any kind of affiliation with the people who know what they're doing and run that whole thing, please move it somewhere else, because people don't want to deal with this. People don't want to put up with this. And I know that you're not being run by a non-profit anymore, and you're all about the money, which I understand. It's America, we're a capitalist country, right? But please, you're gonna start losing money. At least think about that. If you're gonna think about keeping it in San Francisco, please move the conference somewhere else, because people don't want to keep going here. It's not really a safe city to be holding this conference in, at least not anywhere near the Moscone. So, that being said, thanks for watching, and I guess we'll see you next time.